as a channel is an engagement channel, right? If you have noticed our emailers, you will find our emailers to be content heavy, lengthy. Most of our emailers will carry a quiz, recipes, engagement, and all of that, right? So with that, what we see is we see very high engagement rate on our emailers. We hit around 25 to 30% open rates. We see very less unsubscription rate, right? So it's a very good combination of good open rates and very less unsubscription rates. So one such emailer is a cookbook emailer. This is a weekly emailer which we actually send on every Thursdays or Fridays to our customers. Wherein this emailer carries, it talks about food, it carries few recipes. We also ask customers to share recipes, right? So we give them a theme and then they'll actually, or a product, and then we ask them to create recipes and share recipes with us. So now what happens is when a customer clicks on share recipe, right? Or when they try to interact with the emailer redirects, or the CTA will redirect them to a Google form, right? It opens it in a different tab, right? Then they actually start interacting with the Google form. So here we wanted to, so there is a challenge here. I mean, of course, so what we saw is for cookbook emailers, we see good open rates, right? But we thought we can actually improve the CTRs, right? And also the form fill, especially the drop-offs from the CTA, people clicking on the CTA to filling the form was very high. It was almost 50%, right? So we thought maybe adapting AMP would help us increase the conversions, right? From click to form filling, the recipe form filling, right? So what we did is we converted the Google form into small carousels within the emailer. That's one thing that we did. And we also, there were recipes within the emailer where we converted into accordions, right? And there is also small questions that we ask, or feedback that we ask, where we converted that into AMP format, right? Which is mostly responsive buttons and all of that, right? So I'll quickly take you through the emailer, which will give you a quite good sense of how it looks. So the right one is the cookbook emailer that I was referring to. Right, the first section of the emailer talks about the food, and there are enough blog content there. Now the third section here, you will click on submit recipe, and when you click on submit recipe, you can see three questions here: email, chef's name, city, and then you click on next, and you will find the next three questions. Right, so in total there were around nearly 9 to 10 questions. So before, when you click on submit recipe, it used to open in a separate tab, right, in the Google form asset. So here we thought we can improve the conversions, right? So this is what we did. And if you further go down, you will find recipes, right? These are recipes that we promote from our end. And if you click on, say, for example, mango sandesh, it opens within the emailer, right? That's a section. Sorry, I couldn't capture that here, but that's accordion that I was talking about, right? And if you further go down, the emailer ends by asking if you like the emailer. For most of the emailer, we collect feedback with the customer on if they like the emailer, and then you click on either yes, I do, or not much, and then you just submit it. Otherwise, here what used to happen is, again, if you click on yes, I do, it will redirect you to a Google form, and in Google form you will have to submit your feedback, right? Where, like I said, we see a huge drop-offs, right? I'll now move to the left emailer. So this is a recent emailer that we did promoting our herbal cleaning range. Yeah, here we had a section where yeah, it was a quiz. In fact, after you read through the emailer, you would know some of this, or you may even Google and find out. But this quiz, again, usually we used to redirect them to Google form. Instead, here we made it, I mean, we converted this into an AMP. And I'm sorry. Yeah, so yeah, so here you choose, you submit, and that's it, right? So there were a couple of very interesting learnings here, right? In fact, there is one success story, and there is also one limitation that we realized from AMP, right? So I'll maybe start with the limitations. So here in the cookbook, right, like I said, we considered, I mean, we ask a lot of questions. We want you to share the ingredients. We want you to share the picture of the recipe, your picture, a lot of details for us to consider that the chef's submission, right? So there are almost 10 plus questions. And for recipes, so for example, you receive the emailer on Thursday or Friday, you will have to go back to your kitchen, you will have to cook, right? You'll have to take pictures and you'll have to come back, right? So what happened here is, with the form converted into AMP, we further saw a drop in the conversion, right? Because uh, usually what used to happen is you open the Google form and it stays in a separate tab, right? And it's a long engagement. You'll have to go back, you'll have to go offline and then again come back and then fill it. So because this was within the emailer, very likely that you go back from the emailer, you go out of the emailer, and you don't remember, either you don't remember or you don't know how to come back, right? And unfortunately, we saw a lot of people, in fact, attempting the first three questions. You don't need to do any research. You just need to input your email, your name, your phone number. So we saw a lot of people, in fact, more people submitting at least the first section, filling the first section compared to a Google form, right? But the second half of the form, where you had to get back with the pictures and all of that, we saw a lot of drop rates, right? So one thing that we realized there was, maybe if the engagement is too lengthy, if you want your customers to go back, do some research, go offline and come back, then it may be better to land them to a completely different landing page and not convert the form into an AMP. The other, so that was the limitation that we realized that we have with this. So Cookbook, again, we had to convert it back to a Google form, right? Because we tested this multiple times. We even opened the form within the emailer, wherein we showed all the questions within the emailer, right? There also we found the conversions were very low, right? People just input the details for the first section, the first few questions, and then they just dropped off, right? A lot of them dropped off. Very few came back to the emailer. But one other interesting thing that we noticed was with smaller sections, say, for example, the feedback section that you saw in the bottom of Cookbook emailer, or in the Herbal Cleaner emailer, you would have seen the quiz questions. There, the response rate was very, very high, right? Compared to the Google form response rate that we used to get, right? Like I said, we always notice around 50 to 60% drop off, right? Sometimes you don't even wait for the Google form to open, or even if you open, you don't want to submit, right? But within the emailer, it makes it very, very, very easy, right? So we're doing a lot of such experiments with Netcore to understand on what works, what doesn't work. And believe me, it's not that difficult, right? Especially, see here, of course, we are not trying to integrate an API and all of that, which we may end up doing in the future. But converting this engagement, I mean, making this engagement better, making the customer's experience better. These are simple things that we could actually do using the features that Netcore currently carries, right? So yeah, so yeah, we should do more and more such experiments and see on what works for us and what doesn't work for us, right?